We weren't doing punk. There was no punk. We were doing mainstream rock music. We were doing what we were supposed to be doing. We were paying attention to everything, and we were making music that we were supposed to make at the time. People like to say we're experimental, but we're not. We know what we're doing. We don't experiment. We know what we're doing. Now, somebody like, I don't know, Christian Aguilera or Madonna or Lady Gaga, they experiment. They're avant-garde and they're experimental and they're underground. They're doing weird music. We don't do weird music. We don't do experimental music. We do mainstream rock music. This is what everybody does. What we do is what everybody does, and what they do is weird. So I kind of have a different view of your question because I can't go along with it. Because the basis of your question is that we're doing something weird. We're not. They are.
Okay, so what does inspire you now while doing music and producing
What
music?
inspires me?
Yes, and is the same that was inspiring you in the beginning of your music project, like Pere Ubu and...
My ideas haven't changed at all in 40 years. I have exactly the same ideas now as I had then. I don't allow them to change. The way it's constructed is exactly the same thing. Again, you have to remember that we were paying attention to what was going on, and what was, and there was a lot of interesting things going on in the mainstream. Of course, there was like the Velvet Underground, which was next to the Velvet Underground, the Beatles are an underground, experimental, avant-garde, incomprehensible jazz band. So there were Terry Riley and Silver Apples and Captain Beefheart and MC5 and all of that was in the mainstream, and we've carried on the mainstream of rock music.
And what about the music scene in Cleveland, about the city? There was like a special moment for doing music at that time, and what about it now? We
were doing what we were supposed to be doing, there's really no reason that I and we should be punished for doing the right thing. There's no reason that we should be interrogated about what was so weird going on. Well, no, you should ask, John Bon Jovi why he wasn't paying attention.
You're right.
So, you should punish him, not me, by interrogation. We listened to everything that we could get our hands on at the time. There was great record stores in Cleveland, and if your record store most of us worked at record stores, and if the record store you worked in or that you shopped in didn't have the latest Popol Vuh album, then you really, should be ashamed of yourself, and you couldn't hold your head up. It was, everything. There was a great emphasis put on having everything in the record shop that was going on in the world, no matter how popular or unpopular it was. And so we listened to everything, and we weren't trying to be rebellious or any of those other things. We weren't trying to be punks. We weren't punks. We thought punks were idiots. We were paying attention to everything that we were hearing, and we were figuring out what we should be doing, with all that information. You learn from what other good people are doing that's good, and then you figure out your place in the forward movement of the mainstream of rock music. The thing that people get really confused when I say my ideas haven't changed. Well, let me tell you one of my ideas.
Yes.
One of my ideas is that you should never repeat yourself, and you should never do something that you know how to do. I don't repeat myself, and I don't do something that I feel comfortable doing. And every version of Pere Ubu is a distinct and separate universe of potentiality.
A lot of some of your album titles referred to theatrical operas or maybe playwriters. Is this Lady from Shanghai inspired by something or some literature?
Well, Lady from Shanghai is a movie by Orson Welles. It's nothing to do with the film. It has to do with the ideas that Orson Welles was using when he made the film. And his film is about his ideas. Our album is about our ideas, which are similar ideas to what Orson Welles was working on in his mind, so that he happened to be working on.
What about the file sharing? So the free download of music?
Oh, you see, this is your problem. I don't care. It's not my problem. The music business always changes. Technology always changes. Well, you adapt to the change, or you ignore the change. I don't have any thoughts about it, because it's basically crap, and the music industry has always been basically crap when I was young. So crap is crap. I can't differentiate between your crap and my crap.
And how much is important to send messages today? And what kind of messages do you think is important now to leave?
I think messages have no place in music. The purpose of music is to reflect the nature of the human experience. There's no message in there. What message do you want your boyfriend to give you? I bought you flowers. I love you. That means nothing. I hate to burst your bubble, but it means nothing.
What about the name of the band? She thinks that when you choose this name, Pere Ubu, you had us a message. I'm sorry to using this word. You said now that you don't want to deal with, but you think it's still working, like inspiring this name for your band? And
there's three. I can't remember how many things you want in a band name. One, you want it to have 3 syllables. Pere Ubu, 3 syllables. 2, you want it to seem like it means something and has some resonance in the music, but you want it to be totally unspecific and not get in the way of anything that you want to do. And I can't remember the third thing. I'm sure it's really important. But we were and remain educated and well-read people. We'd run across to explain art, and I really never explain art. I might give you clues, and I might give you hints and suggestions, but I don't explain it, because what's the point of doing it? If I could explain art, I would be a writer or something, or a critic or something. Art requires a great deal of discipline, and it requires a great deal of work and effort and a certain vision and it requires a lot of stuff. And so Pere Ubu, the choice of Pere Ubu, fits in various points over the years, over the many recordings. There's been various indications of, how you might interpret it. None of them are obvious. So I guess that's the answer to your question, I'm afraid.